Welcome to Google Ads Unleashed, the podcast that helps you harness the power of Google Ads to increase sales for your online business. In an ever-changing Google Ads landscape, we uncover the latest strategies, techniques, and best practices for creating effective ad campaigns that deliver real results. And now your host, Jeremy Young.
Hello and welcome back, guys, to Google Ads Unleashed. It's Jeremy here. Hope you're doing well. Hope you're having a good time. So I'm having a good time because my team and we just came back from our team retreat. This is something that I've introduced, that once a year we're going to now go somewhere together. We went to Hereford this time, so not too far away, just up in England, about hour and a half away drive. And basically the idea is that because we all work remote, we have sort of started to want to introduce more, and learn a little bit more about each other more than just in a professional capacity. And I think it's gone really well. We have really sort of bonded and learned new things about each other. We've been able to solve quite a few bottlenecks as well together, which are holding us back as a business right now. And it's been, all in all, a really fantastic time. And I can't wait to dive back into the podcast. Talking into podcast, we've also recorded an episode together. If you want to have a listen to that, I believe it's the one before this one. It might even come out before this one. So yes, have a listen. You'll get to know the team and stay tuned. Well, in this episode, I want to talk about something which I thought was very interesting, and which one of my co-workers, Nick, actually came up with when we did the team podcast. And basically we were talking about what for him the biggest eureka moment was when doing Google Ads. And he said something really interesting, and it's really straightforward, but basically it sort of summarizes the entire channel, the entire sort of dynamics and understanding of the various metrics and what you really have to work towards and look for if you want to run Google Ads successfully. And to him, he said, most people don't realize why their ads are unprofitable. And in the end, it's really an easy relationship between three metrics. And that, he said, is the average order value, your cost per click, and your conversion rate. And although I obviously knew this, it was just really nice. He put it much more eloquently. Listen to the podcast if you want to hear it. But that was a real massive nugget, and I want to elaborate just about 5-10 minutes a bit further on that. So basically what did he mean by that? So naturally your CPC is determined by quite a few factors, many factors, probably too many to list here. I wouldn't even know all of the factors if I knew. Obviously, I'd be having a God-given gift, but only a few select people at Google actually do know what the actual determinants of the CPC are. And basically, it is determined by your quality score and by your competition, right? So first of all, you will want to think about multiple things that influence the quality of your ads on your website, right? Your landing page relevance, how well is it navigatable as a user? Is the conversion rate good? Do people spend time on there? Do they find what they're looking for? Is the funnel good? Is the entire user experience coherent with what users have been looking for, etc., 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 right? Landing page speed, big one as well. And then, of course, are your competitors, or how many competitors in the auction, and that determines as well how much you will have to pay in order to get an ad rank that generates clicks and conversions profitably for your ad account. So actually, this is the first metric that you have to look at. Then the second one was conversion rate, all the traffic that you are actually driving to your page, how is that converting and obviously resulting in sales for you or leads for you? And the third one is your average order value. So in the end, how much money you generating per order. And more importantly in this connection as well, which is why I want to have a little add-on in a separate podcast, is your margin on the product, of course, as well, and the margin on the sale. And although it sounds really simple, Google Ads is all about, or very often, if you are struggling to make it work, one of these three things, or two of these things, or all three of these metrics have a problem that you need to put your finger on and then solve. Because it's a little bit like, have you ever heard of the phrase, one spoiled apple, one bad apple spoils the barrel, you know? So that's the sort of picture that just one bad apple can make an entire barrel go to waste. And it's pretty much the same with Google Ads. If just if you just have one problem with one of these three core metrics, then you're going to have a really hard time. If you have a really, really high CPC, right, then that means your ads very quickly become unprofitable, because even though your conversion rate might be good and your margin and your average order value might be good, the CPC then makes the ads unprofitable. Or let's consider the second example, right? So your CPC is absolutely fine, but your conversion rate is extremely poor. And your average order value is great. We actually have a client like this. They sell in the outdoor sphere, and it costs thousands of pounds what they sell. And naturally, the conversion rate's really low. Or, for instance, we sell a client who sells luxury watches, Rolexes, Omegas, etc. Not many people can afford it. The margin's great, but generally speaking, the conversion rate's extremely poor. You're going to have a hard time as well. It's going to be really difficult to actually make Google Ads work for you, because it's high risk as well. With a low conversion rate, you don't have very many conversion events. So it's very unreliable, and you can't really feed the algorithm with a lot of data, right? And then you have the third sort of eventuality, and that is that you have great CPCs, you have a great conversion rate, but your product's not good enough. So, for instance, in the past, my partner used to sell dog accessories, and that worked really well. But we had one part of the accessory, although we did profitably buying customers through Google Ads, over time it became much, much more difficult, because CPC just slightly rose, so that wasn't too big of a problem, but the margin of the product always was poor. So it didn't really serve as a good acquisition acquisition product for us, right? So basically what I'm trying to get at is that very often, if Google Ads doesn't work for you, then you have an issue with all three, two, or one of these things. And you have to figure out what it is, right? So you can do this with a spreadsheet. You can put a calculator together. I might even, if I get around to it, put something in the podcast where you can sort of maybe pop in your numbers and see where the issue is. But in the end, that's where the problem lies. So how do you fix any of the three things? It's relatively straightforward, although it's hard work. So first of all, margins and your average order value. So the first thing that you might want to look at is pricing, right? So I'm going to do maybe another episode about pricing, but at this point, I really highly recommend that you maybe buy some marketing psychology books about pricing and how to price products more competitively and the psychology behind pricing, and also that you make sure that you have healthy margins, right? Because there's no point, let's say you sell a product for £50 or something like that. There's no point if you pay £30 to £40 for it to be produced or to be manufactured, because that leaves you with zero row acquisition costs that you can use to actually sell the product. And there we go back to the problem and the sort of correlation again, right? So let's say you have a really low margin product. That means either your CPC needs to be ridiculously low to make it work, or your conversion rate needs to be ridiculously high, or both have to happen in order to make a low margin product work. Yeah. So that's the first thing you need to fix. Talk to your suppliers, right? Cut down costs, if possible, if that's doable somehow. Try and find alternative suppliers, right? To make more profit with the product that you're selling. Or price your product simply higher. Sometimes a lot of people, like I said, are afraid to do that, but educate yourself. Maybe listen to other podcasts about this sort of topic, and they'll give you great advice how to price your products more competitively. Naturally, this is difficult with the Google Ads sphere because Google Ads is a comparison shopping engine to a certain extent as well, and pricing your product higher is usually not very good for the performance of your Google Ads campaigns. So this is something that you may have to be aware of. You could even look into bundling if it is an option. The issue is with Google Ads that very often people don't actually specifically search for bundles. It's very rare that people search for, certain products in a bundle. It doesn't really happen. They usually search for a single thing, right? Or what you could maybe look into is that, let's say you sell a certain product, and as a product it's very unprofitable. For instance, at the moment I have a coaching client who sells rum, and he has very low margins on the products, but what we're doing is we're looking at the search volume for rum gifting sets and rum taster sets, etc. And with that, you actually create a product that satisfies the demand, and at the same time, because you can bundle, you can improve your margins and use Google Ads profitably to buy new customers, right? So we saw that Google Ads is failing for him, so this is a strategy that we're now pursuing to fix this particular problem, because the CPC and conversion rate weren't the problem. So that's one thing that you may want to be looking into. Then if your conversion rate's poor, then the simple truth is that you have to find out why people aren't buying. Have a look at your funnel. Where are the bottlenecks, right? Are people not adding to cart? If they are not adding to cart, then maybe there's a problem with the product page. Find out if it's a problem on desktop or on mobile. Is it not convincing enough? Does it not show the USPs of the product? Is the pricing again poor? Are the product photos poor? Is the entire product page not well designed and convincing, right? Try and find the bottlenecks where people might be getting stuck on your product page if your add to cart rate's very poor. If your add to cart rate is great, but people get stuck on the checkout, maybe it's your shipping, yeah? So you may have to look at your shipping costs and your shipping policy. If you have loads of people in the checkout, but they all drop off at this point, then you have to find out what the issue is, right? Or another thing, going back to the example which I said before, so where we have a client where the conversion rate's the problem. Well, the obvious issue with Rolex is they're very expensive, right? So what did we do? We implemented finance options. Simple as that people can actually buy the watch on finance. As a result, it becomes more profitable. More people check out, and as a result, the entire Google Ads funnel works again, right? So these are bottlenecks that you have to look at. Probably if you run Meta, if you run TikTok, if you do other stuff, then this is something that you're looking at anyway. Conversion rate optimization is really, really important. It's maybe not the absolute most important thing, especially if you have relatively low traffic stores. But generally speaking, just good product page design is massively important for your online store. I recommend literature and content from people like Ezra Firestone here. If you look at some of his stores, for instance, Boom by Cindy Joseph, you can find really good examples of perfectly crafted landing pages and product pages that are convincing, that have all the elements a product page needs, and it just helps with your conversion rate. And then finally, if your CPC is extremely high, so if you find your conversion rate is actually pretty good, you do some research, right? And you sort of see, okay, my conversion rate is actually really, really good for this. And I'm making sales, right? You can see this, you are actually selling. And you can also look at your product and confidently say, actually, the margin for this is pretty decent, right? There's no reason why the margin should be poor. Or responsible for the ads not being profitable, Google ads not working, well, then it's your CPC, right? You're paying too much for a click. So how do you get that one down? So the way you do that is you work on your quality score. So with shopping, it's a little bit more difficult because it's more diffuse. There is no such thing as the quality score for your shopping or for performance max campaigns, but massive parts of, for instance, landing page speed optimization, improve the page speed of your website, improve the navigation of your website, improve the user friendliness of your website, right? These are all things that you can work on as a no-brainer pretty much to get your CPCs down. Another thing that you can look at is your bidding strategy, right? So maybe you have max conversions or max conversion value as a bidding strategy, or super high manual CPCs. Maybe just try and cut that down, right? The higher your return on ad spend target, the lower the bids go, and you may not make as much volume in sales, but at least it's profitable, right? That's what you want, to at least make it work. So this is something that you can look into. You can, of course, then also look at other things, like, for instance, switching to a CSS. I'm going to be doing a podcast episode about that as well. But cut a long story short, without making it sound too sensationalist, you can actually drop your CPCs on shopping clicks in the EU, at least. It's not available in Britain anymore, not available in the US, by 20% by using a CSS for European countries. There's a very, very long story around it, which I'm not going to get into now, but basically, Google once made an issue or screwed up with cartel laws, and as a result, they have to now give CSSs like Calcu or Gone as what an advantage in click costs. So that's how you can drop your CPCs as well. And of course, you can make your ads more attractive. Okay. So that means, for instance, looking at your product titles. Are your product titles good? If they're rubbish and attracting the wrong searches, which are really high in competition, then naturally you're paying huge CPCs and you are not attracting the right people. So this correlates a bit with, of course, conversion rate optimization as well, because the more relevant the title, more people click, and more people are actually the relevant people who click. So this is something that you might want to look into. Then another thing you might want to look into is that you want to be looking at, for instance, product photos, right? The product photos for your listings good? Yeah. So are they standing out compared to your competitors? Another thing you might want to look into is how to get reviews on your ads, right? So to add more social proof, ads with more reviews get clicked a lot more often. So product listings with reviews, than other ones, right? So these are all ways to get your CPCs down. So what I'm trying to get at, all in all, so these were a few tips on how to do it, but basically what I'm trying to get at is these three metrics are the absolute core determinants of the success of your Google ads. Those are the ones that you can manipulate by taking action. And I also urge you to think, with everything that you do, to think about these sort of three metrics in order to sort of work towards your goal and drive your success. If you're struggling with all of this and need help, we actually offer an online course. So you can go to younganddigital.marketing and onto the top right corner and head to our online course and purchase the online course, which includes weekly one-to-one coaching, which includes regular feedback on your Google Ads campaigns, which helps you drive sales for your business. We also offer, I also offer one-to-one bespoke coaching if this is something that you will need and need more invested sort of or more intensive training. And of course, you can also get in touch with me, Jeremy, at Young and Digital Marketing for just any questions, or if you need an agency service, looking into your Google Ads account, looking at those metrics and knowing what to do and which triggers to pull. On that note, thank you very much for listening, and I'll see you in the next podcast episode. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you for listening to Google Ads Unleashed. Be sure to subscribe wherever you heard this podcast so you never miss a future episode. If you found value in today's podcast, please share it with others and leave a rating and a review. For more information or to connect with Jeremy, check him out online at www.younganddigital.marketing. Thanks again for tuning in, and we'll see you next time.